Hello and welcome. This is In the News. I'm your host, Keith Lander. We cover local news, national news, international news, and everything else in between. And of course, you'll get my colorful opinions on some of the news items. Thank you for viewing. If you would like to stay in touch with the show, just hit that subscribe button and you'll never miss a show, I guarantee you. We try to give the facts of the matter. Before I give my opinion, I'll give you the facts and then I'll give you my opinion afterwards, and we can go from there. The leading story in the news several weeks ago was the murder of Tyre Nichols, the individual out of Memphis, Tennessee. You probably seen the video. It's a horrific video. It's painful to watch. I didn't watch the whole thing. I didn't want to see an individual get murdered like that. With those 5 police officers, what they did to Mr. Nichols was an absolute shame against humanity. It was terrible. We all know it was terrible. Since then, those not only those 5 police officers have been fired, but they also have been charged with murder, rightfully so, and some other officers also who didn't do anything at the scene, and some paramedics who didn't do anything at the scene. They likewise have been fired, and rightfully so. The district attorney's office in Memphis is doing an investigation of that, what they call the Scorpion Unit, which those 5 officers worked under, and I'll give you some more details on that in a minute. But I want to dispel this Facebook post that was dated February the 23rd, 2023. The headline was, "Officers who beat Tyre Nichols targeted him because he was allegedly dating one of the officers' wives." Now, I did some research, and I researched it pretty good, and what I came up with a fact check from PolitiFact, and PolitiFact is a fact check website, and PolitiFact says that's absolutely false. And PolitiFact investigated this claim, and here's what they found. It says neither investigators nor attorney for the officers arrested in Tyre Nichols' death has released any solid information about the officer's motive. The police in the initial report said that Nichols was pulled over for reckless driving, but the Memphis, Tennessee police chief has since said surveillance footage does not sustain that fact. Nichols' stepfather, Rodney Wells, describes that as untrue claim that Nichols was involved with any of those wives, any of those ex-wives, ex-girlfriends of the officers who was charged in beating him to death. The investigation into Nichols' death continue, but PolitiFact found no evidence among the available information to sustain this claim. So that's a PolitiFact source. That was the only source I can come up with that will have some facts on that rumor that was out there on Facebook about Mr. Nichols and the involvement, alleged involvement of one of the wives or girlfriends of one of the officers who beat him to death. As far as PolitiFact is concerned, as far as I'm concerned, I don't think that is the case. So I just wanted to put that out there. Now, here's the ugliness behind the Scorpion Unit doesn't stop at the latest lawsuit. And this is from the Root News. That's the Root, R-O-O-T News. It says another Memphis resident is filing a lawsuit because of his violent run-in with the city's Scorpion Unit, the same unit that caused the fatal beating of Tyre Nichols. It said the unit was disbanded upon Nichols' investigation of the new Shelby County prosecutor. And the prosecutor is about to dig up every case that the Scorpion Unit was involved with, according to the NPR news source. It says the county district attorney announced that they would review and closed and pending cases connected to the 5 members of the officers that was charged for alleged of the murder. Now, the individual who has the lawsuit against them is named, let me get his name. His name is Montarius Harris.
He sent me a clip of Tyre, like when he was in the hospital, and it had all the officers down there. So I was reading it, and I was like, these are the same officers that beat me up. Masked guys with masks and hoodies on, they came out of like nowhere just asking me to get out the car. They put my hands up, and I walked towards him, and I'm like, what's going on? You know, and he grabbed me, hit me a couple times. The other guys, they closed in on me.
He's 22 years old. He's also said he was pulled over by the same group of officers. Mr. Harris said they didn't identify themselves. They wore ski masks, had guns, forcing him out of his vehicle. That's per the affidavit. Mr. Harris goes on to say that they were trying to pull him out the car, but his car was locked. He said, I thought someone was trying to carjack me. I didn't know they was officers. That's what Mr. Harris told NBC News. Also, Mr. Harris had to be sent to the hospital for his injuries that he sustained during that incident. So the Scorpion unit was running down on folks and just yanking them out the car, just beating them for, I guess, I don't know what reason. We haven't found the motive. But let me say this about this incident and these Scorpion units, like what these officers was involved in. I believe that there were other police officers who knew what these officers were involved in, and they were afraid to come forward because of this thing called a code of silence. That code of silence will get people killed, police officers. That code of silence should not be. If you see an officer misusing and abusing his authority, it should be reported. And the union should stand by you when you report this. This will help eliminate these rogue officers from doing what they're doing, abusing their power. The union has to stand up, and the union has to say, we won't tolerate these rogue officers. If there's police officers who are doing things against the policy, against the law, against the professionalism of the police department, they need to be exposed and they need to be weeded out of the police department. Nobody's focuses in on that, folks. That's why we see this stuff continues, because there's not an effort being made from within the department to oust these rogue officers. We should never have to see another incident like this again. Never. But I guarantee you, the only way these people got caught was taped. Cameras caught it. Cameras on the street caught him, beating this man down to the point of his death. Had not those cameras been rolling, these officers probably would have got free. That's why I say I'm in favor of a camera on every corner. Every street corner in the United States, put a camera out there, because that camera exposes wrongdoing by some of these police officers. And crimes were solved using these cameras. And I believe the city of Dayton is doing something with private companies who have cameras like this, where the city of Dayton police can review those footage. I'm in favor of that, folks. I'm definitely in favor of it, because it helps. It helps. If it didn't help, we would have never seen Tyre Nichols get beat down to his death. We wouldn't have never seen it. So, just want to bring that up. Also, here's a case you probably didn't hear about. 6 officers in North Carolina are on leave after tasing a man to death. Just a few days after Tyre Nichols died from his injuries inflicted by the Memphis police, a man named Daryl Tyree Williams also had a fatal run-in with the cops over Raleigh, North Carolina. This is according to CNN. 6 police officers have been put on paid administrative leave for tasing Williams multiple times, leading to his death. Now, the way it started was that Mr. Williams and another friend were in a parked car. The officers rolled up on them, asked them for identification, step out the car, and they wanted to be searched. When that took place, basically the officer said they had an open container and also some marijuana. Mr. Williams started to run. They chased him down. A tussle ensued. They tased him. I believe it was, they tased him about 3 or 4 times after pummeling on top of him, all the 6 officers. They went on top of the man, they still kept tasing him. And he yelled out that he got a heart condition. That didn't stop him, and he died as a result of the tasing. So here's the thing, folks. Why is it you got 6 police officers on top of this man and you still tasing him? Was that necessary? So that's being investigated. That was in Raleigh, North Carolina. And, we will see, where this leads. But, Mr. Williams was pronounced dead an hour later. An hour later, he died from being tased to death by 6 North Carolina police officers. Couldn't subdue one man. Come on, folks. Here we are again. So I just want to put that out there because I guarantee you didn't see it on the news. Moving on. Let's talk about this Chinese balloon that flew over part of the United States. A lot of people are calling it a Chinese spy balloon and all this other kind of nonsense. Let me say this, folks. If I'm from China and I wanted to spy on the United States, I wouldn't use a balloon which is big as 3 football fields that's easily detected. That's all you got to do is look up and you see the balloon, right? How stupid is that, right? I don't know what was in that balloon. You know, right? I don't know what's in the balloon. You know what I mean? And apparently nobody else does except the government agencies who shot the thing down and are dealing with what they get out of this doggone thing, whatever it is. You know what I mean? With general public, if you're in the general public and you're talking about, oh, that was a spy balloon, you don't know that was a spy balloon. It was the dumbest kind of spy balloon I ever seen. So the thing was shot down. President Biden shot the thing down and he got all this criticism. Why didn't he shoot it down earlier? And Donald Trump come about, oh, there was a balloon flew when I was president and all this nonsense. Let me clear the air, folks. This is according to CNN. It says a Chinese balloon flew over Florida when Trump was president. The Pentagon reported said that the Chinese balloon hovered above location Trump was basically of that Mar-a-Lago place, wherever he hangs out. It says U.S. military assessment in April noted that a high altitude balloon from China drifted past Hawaii and across Florida in 2019. And as it rounded the world at about 600,000 feet, according to CNN. All right. Now, get this, folks. The Associated Press also has a new report that quotes a defense expert who said that a Chinese spy balloon has been detected near synthesis sites in Hawaii, home to the largest U.S. military base. So this thing was flying when Trump was president. Nobody knew anything about it. Trump didn't shoot it down. I don't know how they got the doggone thing down. I would like to know that. So if you're going to criticize Joe Biden for taking long to shoot the thing down, but you didn't say nothing when the thing flew over Florida and Hawaii, and when Donald Trump was president in 2019, you didn't say a mumbling word about that? And we don't know what happened to the thing. We don't know if, I don't know how it came down. But I know Donald Trump didn't shoot it down. He didn't have his administration shoot the thing down, right? So, come on, Congress folks, Republican Party. Man, you look ignorant, especially that Representative Mike Turner. He up there on the news, well, we got to get to the bottom of it. You didn't get to the bottom of it, Mr. Turner, when they flew over Florida and Hawaii when Donald Trump was president, Mr. Turner. Why you didn't, Mr. Turner? Huh? You're playing politics, man. And we're wise to that. And let me say something about these unidentified objects. We had some of these things fly when Donald Trump was president too, according to CNN. It says the U.S. military and all, it says it leads to open the possibility that other adversary aircraft have flown over the U.S. during Trump years, aside from the balloon. Now check this out. We still don't know why swarms of drones were flying over Colorado and Nebraska in December 2019 and January 2020. So that's when Donald Trump was president. So there was unidentified objects flying over Colorado and Nebraska, and Donald Trump didn't say a word. His administrators didn't say a word. We don't know what it was. We don't know what they gathered. We don't know nothing. But since Donald Trump was president, the Republican Party keep quiet on the nonsense he was involved in. But then when President Biden shoots down these crap from China, now they got this is wrong. Shut up. You know what I mean? Shut up. especially you, Mike Turner. And the reason why I say Mike Turner, because Mike Turner represents my district. I didn't vote for him. The only reason why Mike Turner keeps getting elected is because his district is gerrymandered. You got more Republicans in the district than you do Democrats. If Mike Turner had to run, if everything was balanced, Mike Turner wouldn't win an election here no more. He wouldn't win. When Mike Turner was the mayor of the city of Dayton, and then when he went to Washington, they must have took his brain out and implanted another brain because they don't look like the same man. He just do anything his political bosses tell him to do, whether it's right or wrong. Come on, Mike Turner. Be a man, man. Get your kahunas back, man. Be a man, Mike Turner. Don't let these people guide you around. My God. So we're going to move on. All right, we're going to move on. And you ever notice when you watch and listen to some of this conservative news that they always try to talk about how crime rates in blue states are higher than those in the red states, and they always want to talk about Chicago's crime rate and the crime rate in another state where a Democratic governor is presiding over. Well, let's clear the air about that nonsense. Here's a study. The study finds that red states have higher murder rates than blue states. A new study conducted by Third Way found that murder rates in states that voted for Trump eclipsed blue states that voted for Biden. And listen good, folks. Actually, Trump voting red states had 40% higher murder rate than Biden's voting bloc. You got it? I ain't done yet. Now, Third Way reports analyzed homicide data in all 50 states from 2000 to 2020 using CDC data. All right. Now, the four highest was Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Missouri. Those are all red states, and they all have the highest crime murder rate in any state. So, let's keep going. In the study, they say they collected homicide data from 2000 to 2020, like I just said, from all 60 states, from the Center of Disease Controls, and also the National Center for Health Statistics majority data. Okay. Now, what they found that the murder rate in Trump voting states has exceeded the murder rate in Biden voting states every year this century. Every year this century, right? So it also goes on to say the overall murder rates since 2000 were on average 23% higher in Trump voting states. So the next time you hear one of these conservatives bring up the fact that talk about Chicago, you tell them, hey, let's talk about Louisiana, let's talk about Mississippi, let's talk about Alabama, let's talk about Missouri. Huh? So stop all that nonsense. We got the report right here. We got the data, you know? So next time Trump get on there talking about, the murder rates in Chicago is terrible, tell him to shut up and the rest of them clowns, because they ain't doing nothing but spitting in the wind. They have no facts. I just gave you the facts by Third Way. You can look it up. I just gave you the facts. So we ain't gonna play games with that. They need to keep their mouth closed. Let's talk about this Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida. He bans African American studies from classes in high school in Florida. Now, it says Ron DeSantis, Florida Republican governor, has rejected a new advanced placement course in African American studies from being taught in high school campuses. He goes on to say that it violates state law and it lacks educational value. Let me tell you what Mr. DeSantis is telling Santos is telling black folks. He's telling black folks and those kids down in Florida high school that African American history has no value to him. It means nothing. He don't like it. He think he's the king of Florida, and he's the racist king of Florida. And he's telling you when he say it lacks educational value, he means he don't give a damn about African American history, and he don't give a damn about African Americans. And this is the guy the Republican Party is propping up as their 2024 president candidate. This racist, low down, no good for nothing governor is saying that African American history and it shouldn't be taught in Florida schools because it lacks educational value. This racist fool is telling y'all he's so racist. He's telling y'all he don't even want y'all black folks history taught in high school or in Florida. And this clown claims want to be the president of the United States. If he become president of the United States, black folks, we'll be back in a cotton field somewhere down south from Alabama, Mississippi, picking cotton again. I can guarantee you that. This clown has lost his mind. Let me move on. I'll be doggone. Let me move on. Let me say this here. This guy, he's worse than George Wallace. Y'all remember Governor George Wallace? He worse than George Wallace. You know what I mean? Maybe he should study Governor Wallace and see what happened to him. I mean, it is terrible. As a matter of fact, Attorney Benjamin Crump is representing some high school students who filing a lawsuit against DeSantis because DeSantis only want to cancel out African American history course. Everybody else's history can be taught. Y'all can teach all the rest of it, but don't teach that black history. Nah, that's what DeSantis say. Man, I guess this guy I don't know if he's some kin to George Wallace or not. He may be. Y'all better look up George Wallace. George Wallace, y'all know who he was, don't you? He was the most racist governor in the country at one time. This guy is falling in his footsteps. George Wallace never became president, and this clown ain't gonna become president either. Because times has changed. Ain't nobody on this stuff no more, man. Times has changed. Black, white, all these kids, they mingling together. They trying to understand each other. And you got this old fool stuck in the 1940s talking about we ain't gonna teach African American studies, history in Florida. Like he know more than the educators know. This guy's ignorant, you know what I mean? And a racist. And if you support him, you're supporting an ignorant and a racist individual. I'm keeping it real, folks. The fool also, I'm talking about DeSantis, he also is banning books down in Florida. Book banning, can you believe that? Book banning has come back to the States, folks. He put in a bill, this DeSantis, governor of Florida. It's House Bill 1464. Now, what it says is, it says you have to comply with Governor Ron DeSantis law. It mandates that all books in the classroom libraries must be approved by his administration. Who made him the king of public education in Florida? I thought they had a school board. I thought they had a state school superintendent, state school board that governs the schools. This clown's supposed to be the governor. He's the governor of Florida. He's supposed to be getting some health care down in Florida because them folks need some health care down there. Matter of fact, them folks, they better be talking about saving their Social Security because the Republican Party talking about cutting their Social Security and Medicaid. So Governor DeSantis, instead of you talking about banning books, get these people some health care in Florida. So let's move on. Also, House Bill 1467 says that anyone who violates this law could be charged with a third-degree felony. So, any of these books that these teachers have and they go and they start teaching out of it and somebody turns them in to the Gestapo, Governor DeSantis and his group of folks, they can lock the teacher up in jail. Huh? It's hard to make this stuff up, folks. And the Republican Party is pushing this clown to be the nominee in 2024. Here's a man who's banning books. And he only banning books that got to do with African American studies, y'all. And some, LGBTQ stuff, you know what I mean? Let me say this about the LGBTQ folks. Them people ain't bothering nobody. DeSantis, them people ain't bothering nobody. They going on about their business. You know what I mean? They all coming in, y'all talking about drag shows. No, you ain't got to go to a drag show. You ain't got to go to where these people hang out if you don't like them. The LGBT community ain't bothering nobody. Y'all bothering them, DeSantis. And why you bothering these people? They ain't bothering you. They ain't crippling the state. Matter of fact, they spending money in the state, paying tax dollars in the state. So I don't know why y'all hang up on the fact that you want to demonize LGBTQ. Well, I probably got the initials wrong, but y'all know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about. So, I mean, the gay community, that's why I do it that way. I simplify it for myself. You know what I mean? If them folks ain't bothering nobody, them folks ain't going out murdering folks, them folks ain't going out molesting children, them folks ain't going out busting old ladies upside the head and robbing them folks ain't going out getting a gang of folks jumping on people and beating them and stomping them to death. Them folks ain't doing none of that. So why are you messing with these people? Leave these people alone. Let them people go on with their life, and you go on with your life. You know what I mean? You ain't in no judgmental position. Like you got a high moral ground. Man, you better sit down somewhere, DeSantis, banning books and banning folks that can't teach about African American studies. And on top of that, folks, you know more than 40 states has introduced or passed legislation limiting the discussion about race in public schools and colleges, and that's according to a tracking effort by Education Week. That's the study. Now, the good thing is, folks, here's the good thing, that our legislators, some of them, Jamal Brown, who is, he has a bill. It's called the African American History Act, which is, here's a summary of the bill. It says a multiracial democracy that ensures the social, economic, and political rights of all individuals in the United States requires to tell the full truth about our country's history. It's our moral imperative to ensure that everyone has access to high-quality, historical, accurate, educational resources about our nation's past and present. Most importantly, teaching the full truth to our students and community promotes tolerance, justice, and love for humanity, not fear and hate. This is Jamal Brown's proposed bill. The African American History Act is the name of the bill. Now, not only not Jamal Brown, it's Jamal Bowman. I'm sorry, Jamal Bowman, not Jamal Brown, Jamal Bowman. That's the name. Also, Senator Cory Booker is one of the co-sponsors of this bill. And here's the way it worked, folks. It will invest $10 million over 5 years in the National Museum of African American History and Culture to support African American history education programs that are voluntarily available for students, parents, and educators. Okay, so then they list how the development of these funds would go. Look, people, if you're ashamed of your history, that's on you, right? That ain't on me. That don't mean it shouldn't be taught. You know what I mean? That don't mean it shouldn't be banned. You know, so we gotta get out of this nonsense. And these governors who are doing this thing, especially that Ron DeSantis, you know, we ought to run down on Florida, and we should vote this man out of office as quickly as we can, and we should make sure that he never, ever, ever get into the White House. Because I'm telling you, folks, if this racist get into the White House, he gonna bring some racists with him. This Ron DeSantis, he gonna bring all them racist folks with him. And the first thing gonna do is they gonna get rid of the Civil Rights Bill. They gonna get rid of the Accommodation Act. They gonna get rid of what else? I can't think of what else. But I'm telling you, people, they definitely gonna get rid of the unions. I can tell you that right now. The unions are going by the wayside as this Ron DeSantis and his gang get in there. I can tell you that. They trying to take this country back to the 1950s, and we ain't gonna allow that. We got more sense than that. There's more people out there that see each other as human beings, see each other as decent people who are trying to get on, move along with their life, and not get hung up on this nonsense by attacking the gay community, attacking black folks, attacking the education. There's more people out there that got good sense than these clowns out there that don't have no sense at all. So that's where we need to be focused in on. And let me close with this. You know, as much as we talk about race and as much as we talk about race in this country, we have to realize something, folks. We're not going to get anywhere not unless we put an effort toward it. And people say, well, you can't legislate your way out of things. Yes, you can. Let me tell you what we legislated our way out of. We legislated our way out of black folks sitting in the balcony of a theater. We legislated our way out of black folks out in the cotton field picking cotton from can't see morning to can't see night. We legislated our way out of separating black drinking fountain, white drinking fountain. We legislated our way out of folks just hanging black folks, just grabbing them off the street and just hanging them. We legislated our way out of that too. We legislated our way out of people who said we ain't gonna serve black folks at this counter. We legislated our way out of that. We legislated our way out of a whole bunch of things, and we can legislate our way to a certain extent to curtail these issues we have here, especially when we witness a black man beat to death on camera by 5 officers who are supposed to protect and serve the community. They victimized the community, right? And not only Mr. Nichols, but also the other gentleman I just named, and there'll be more. I'm gonna say this about that Houston Police Department. The whole department, I say, is corrupt because I know they knew this stuff was going on and they did nothing to stop it. And I hope the DA comes in and proves that. I'm pretty sure they will. So, man, let me say this one more thing. I have to say this. I had to bring it up because I ran into a white man. He come talking about when we talked about Tyree Nichols. He said, well, that's all they got to do is comply. I said, man, what kind of man are you? Did you see that video? Huh? Did you see that video? That man didn't have time to comply. They janked that man out the car and started beating him as quickly as they can get their fist swung. Complied nothing. See, that's what white folks like to do. See, that's what white folks like to do. They see a black man get beat down, murdered in the streets, and then they come up and say, well, he shouldn't have ran or he should have complied. Shut up. You're trying to justify that nonsense. What you're telling me is that you don't give a damn about black life either. Because I guarantee you, if them 5 cops would have beat down a dog in the street like that on video camera, them white folks still be protesting. They be hollering for the police chief head. They be hollering for the district attorney's head. They'll be calling for the whole department in Memphis, Tennessee to get thrown out because they beat that dog to death. And these dog right folks, we love them dogs. We love them dogs. Sometimes y'all love them dogs better than you do love them black folk. I'm just going to say it. I'm going to say it again in case you didn't hear it. Some people love them dogs better than they do black folk. Because I guarantee you they wouldn't make no excuses if them folks would have beat down a dog like that. All right, I'm going to close with that before I say something to get kicked off the air. So until next time, may God bless you and your family.